filled.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, chat. I was actually in, you may have heard that, I was in a little long on NQ. I was trailing my stop loss close because we're getting close to market open and it got stopped out. Let's see what we got going on. Holy cow, gold. I got in long off of this support down here and got out way too early. So there was a nice bounce off of the previous weekly VWAP. I didn't get in there because it was midnight, but it came back down and retraced and was holding some support that I had. So got in long, but dang, that was a big pump. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We got a little bit of a gloomy, cloudy, rainy day here where I'm living. So we have Asia low and London low. The reason I was originally in that long that I just got stopped out of with my trailing stop loss is this was the previous London low, and we came down and swept that liquidity. If you zoom into the 1 minute, that was the candle that came down and swept it, and it was good volume on the way back up. So that was the long that I got into. But looking at future trades, we have London low and Asia low stacked right on top of each other. And then this is our like pre-market low down here where I have my alert at 29,221. So some possible sweep opportunities there. But has kind of been in this tight little range since our Sunday night open, really. All the moms in the chat, do you guys have a special day yesterday? Happy belated Mother's Day. Hopefully you guys got spoiled by your families. So gold is coming up. I mean, gold is very bullish. It's hard to even want to think of a short, but it is coming up to our previous session's value area high. And I do have an area of resistance up here. So even if it's just a kind of a mean reversion trade, meaning we could short just back to value, back to VWAP, but we do have market open in 7 minutes, so we'll see how it opens. I don't think we have any news this morning. Oh, I take that back. We do have existing home sales at 10 o'clock. It is labeled as a red folder event. I don't think that'll be a big crazy one, but that could make the market open a little bit choppy. Man, I was saying that NQ was kind of in this tight range. Look at ES. It didn't do much at all last night. I don't know how you trade ES in the Asia market. Unless you're trading minis or something. It just doesn't move. Good morning, chat. Market's opening in 6 minutes. As you guys are coming in, hit that like button. So NQ is hovering below VWAP right now. Let's look at our London range. So the midpoint of the London range is right at VWAP. So it'd be interesting to see if we get a pullback at the open. There was that news earlier, like 45 minutes ago, about a submarine in the Strait of Hormuz. I wonder when all those things are going to be slowing down. All that news. Good morning, good morning. Hope you guys are ready. Let's make it a good day. All right, moms in the chat, or anyone who got to spoil their mom or wife. What'd you guys do yesterday? Anything fun over the weekend to celebrate? Lambos for everyone? Are you talking about like a real Lambo, or everyone's gonna go like buy some Hot Wheels? A Lambo tractor. Funny story about Hot Wheels. When I said that, it reminded me of something. So my son was being silly and writing gross things on our grocery list. He was writing like worms and dirt and mud and stuff. Just being silly. And I was joking with him, saying that he can't put that on the list because we might accidentally buy it. Like everything that you put on the list, we're going to buy. And it might end up in his dinner on accident. Like if we have worms in the refrigerator, I might cook it. So I was just messing with him. So then he got that in his mind of, you know, whatever gets written on the grocery list gets bought. So I came back to the list and I looked at it later. And it had Pokemon cards, Hot Wheels, and he had written something else. He's like, oh, whatever's on the list, mom's gonna buy. So he started putting his shopping list on there. It's just funny how, you know, his little 8-year-old brain is like, ooh, I'll take advantage of that. All right, market's open. So far, we got a quick little rejection of VWAP. Well, that was a short-lived rejection of VWAP. Just moving on up. We have a couple levels overhead here. Previous day high, London high. But, I mean, we're at all-time highs. I don't love the idea of shorting up here unless it's obvious. So just going to see what happens. ES and NQ both just filled their gaps. No signs of rejecting right now, though. There's our London high. Straight back to all-time highs again, huh? Like I said pre-market, I am watching gold here. A little hesitant to be shorting that big old move that we had up, but we are coming up to a potential rejection area of 47.50s. So if gold does start to slow down and reject, might be looking at a short over here. The name of the game with NQ, man, has just been market order long at the open. Jeez. Good morning to everyone logging in. We almost got our first 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and remove our Asia high and London high since we didn't really get a liquidity sweep there. Those levels didn't really matter. New all-time high again. Again. Man, how many days in a row is that now? Where is the midpoint of this range? We could look and see how it reacts at this midpoint. If we get a bounce in the 340s, might be an opportunity. VWAP is right down here at like 326. I'm trying along here at 362. Based on the fact that we had a strong market open, it came down to the midpoint of the range, holding above VWAP so far. Took a small position on it, putting my stop loss a little bit below VWAP. It wasn't a super patient trade, I'll admit. I did have a little bit of wiggle room from this gold trade that I took earlier. So far, no signs of showing a rejection on gold. I was kind of saying I might look for a short just to like return back to kind of a mean reversion trade, but no signs of rejecting. And that was a big old move up on gold. So on NQ, if this does actually continue, we can watch for just a return to this high here. Or I'm also watching ES. ES has not quite returned to its previous day high. So if ES is going to make a new all-time high, we still have a little bit of room to go. So kind of watching the two next to each other. Yeah, I very briefly talked about the gold trade. So the reasoning for this entry, this over here, that's the close of the previous week's VWAP right here, this gray line, and then it moved up when it re-anchored. But that's where it bounced right here. It was a good bounce. And that was at midnight. I was sleeping. But when it came back, and if you look at the 15-minute chart, you can see right here it was looking like it was consolidating. Quite a bit of volume on this candle right here, so it looked to me like it was holding, and that's where I got in. Originally, I had my stop loss down below that candle, and then I moved it up as the market went up. And I got out at the top of the VWAP bands, and then it kept exploding. But yeah, that was the reasoning for the gold trade. It was just holding some key support that I had. So ES is starting to show signs of moving back up. Not yet on NQ. There you go, man. Smooth. Awesome. Glad you got a good trade. As you guys are coming in, if you haven't already, hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. It's an easy way to support. NQ and ES are a little out of sync so far. Come on, ES. Pull NQ with you. Let's go. ES is heading towards that previous day high. Like I said before, it has not made a new all-time high yet. So either, what I'm watching for, if ES like sweeps this previous day high and starts to reject, I'll get out of my NQ trade. But if it looks like it's gonna just keep pumping and make new all-time highs, then it could be a good sign for this NQ trade. So let's see. We still got 1 minute left on this 15-minute opening range. So far, no signs of rejecting on this previous day high on ES. All right, that is our 15-minute opening range. And it's still just shooting up. So hopefully NQ follows suit. I'm gonna at least trail. Interesting how they don't look the same at all. Gold is just going crazy. It's up at previous day high now. That is something that I still struggle with. The ability to like just be happy with taking a portion of the move and not catching the whole move. Just being honest with you guys. I'm like, dang it, why didn't I hold? That's all right. I'll get over it. I gotta find the glass is half full scenario, right? It was a good trade. I'm happy with my profits. Well, ES is closing above its 15-minute opening range high. NQ, you want to do the same thing? What do you think? There you go, Drifter. It's always a good feeling to be done that early. Go buy some Hot Wheels. Yeah, gold does look like it's rejecting that previous day high area. It didn't come all the way up to it though, and it didn't have like a nice liquidity sweep. So it's not something that I would have shorted. Looks like it's coming down though. ES is moving. Looks like, yeah, NQ grabbed my stop loss. So NQ is sitting at the New York anchored VWAP. Where is the 50% mark of the range? Ooh, right there. I'm going to re-enter, and it might come straight back down. Reasoning is that it's sitting at the 50% part of the range, and ES was moving up above the top of the 15-minute opening range. It got me though. Might have been misplacement of stop loss, or it could be coming back down. Let's see. We do have VWAP right below at 333. So I'm kind of watching this spot to see what happens. See if ES is going to pull back and maybe hit this VWAP area where like the New York anchored VWAP is at 74.25. NQ also has a little bit more room to come down to its daily VWAP at 333-ish. It's kind of just hovering at the middle of the range right now. And then we do have that news in 7 minutes. It's not a huge thing, the existing home sales, but something to be aware of. Calabrio, good morning. All right, NQ is coming down to the daily VWAP. Watching ES2, it's coming down to the top of that 15-minute opening range, but it also could come down to this anchored VWAP here. NQ's at a decent spot though. Watching to see if it holds here. Gary, yeah, I was watching gold, but I'm not really seeing signs of it actually going back down. I had that one 5-minute candle rejection of previous day high, but that was it. it's still hovering up there, looking pretty strong. Good morning, Extra Angle. Or Extragle. Sorry, I probably always say your name wrong. Chopping around right here. 4 minutes until news. Could be part of the reason for the choppiness. If we are going back up, though, this is a decent spot. Just watching ES and NQ. ES at the top of the 15-minute opening range. And then NQ is kind of hovering around that daily VWAP. The main thing that's holding me back is that ES could move a little bit lower down to its New York VWAP. And then, of course, news in 3 minutes. So just staying patient. Alright, I'm gonna try it. I know news is coming, so that may end up biting me in the butt. Alan Friedman, good morning. Pre-market support at 29,260. I mean, it's that's the London low. Ten seconds until news. Last time I'm going to try this idea. Well, that's cool, Alan Friedman. How did it go for you? Trading on your own. I like that idea. So yeah, Gary, I don't know if you've watched a video that I have on like how I do my levels. I prep my levels. I always mark off the London low, Asia low, and then London high, Asia high. And I watch them for liquidity sweeps. So I don't know if I would call it support because it was kind of just a level for one day. But if it does come down to these levels, especially since they're stacked up on each other, it could be a good long opportunity just because it kind of sweeps those stop losses. I do have a couple videos on how I mark off my levels. One of them is called like trade plan or weekly trade prep or something like that. So NQ is sitting below this New York anchored VWAP. It rejected it on that first shot. It's gotta break through it. Well, good, Alan Friedman. Glad you learned some stuff. How will you know if it'll bounce off the POC versus the London low? I don't know. That's the point. You don't really know, you just react. You wait for confirmation. You have a couple levels or ideas where you can watch for reactions. If you get the reaction you're looking for, you can take the trade. If not, you wait for the next level to hit. That's how I trade, at least. You can't know. If you think you know what the market's going to do, you're going to lose a lot of money real fast. The best thing you've learned is that even with a 70% win strategy, you still lose 30% of the time. Yep. I think that's one of the biggest benefits to knowing what your strategy's win rate is. I use TradeZella to track that. So at the end of the day, I'll tag all of my trades. Like this was an initial balance strategy or this was a liquidity sweep strategy or whatever. So I have a chart that shows what my win rate is for each strategy. And I think that helps knowing the math. Because then if you follow your rules and you take a good trade and you lose, emotionally you can be okay. Because you're like, okay, well, I'm going to lose 32% of the time or whatever. So that was just one of those. I'm not moving my stop loss yet because it hasn't broken past this New York anchored VWAP. I'm trying to give it a little bit of room. Once it has a good break above, I'll move my stop loss to probably like 337-ish. But since it's still kind of chopping around, it could come down and reject a little bit. I'm not moving it yet. Hope that doesn't come back to bite me in the butt. All right, starting to break. Come on, let's get a good close up there. Keep going, keep going. All right, I'm gonna trail up a little bit. It's looking like it's trying to break through. See if it goes back up to that high. We had a pretty big rejection at this level right here. So I'm gonna start scaling out a little bit. Because it might not continue. Gold did end up rejecting that previous day high. Pretty good short opportunity there. I know there were a couple people in the chat talking about it. I'm sure someone took it. Big green bubbles. Oh, you're talking about Bookmap. Gotcha. This might be a rangy day, you guys. Because looking back at the overnight session, if you zoom out to like the 15-minute, that was our overnight London and Asia session. And looking at our current range, the 15-minute opening range, we had that nice like first 15-minute opening. And then since then, it's been pretty choppy. We now have our 30-minute opening range, and it's the same as the 15-minute. I've learned that a lot of times when the 15-minute opening range is the same as the 30-minute, we don't have a breakout trending day A lot of times. I'm not saying never, but a lot of times that's what happens. Just kind of a sign that it might be a rangy day. Where is it? Sitting right around the halfway point. Yep. Are we going to make it back to the top of the range? $88.88 liking this stream. Well, thanks for dropping by. It's interesting that ES is just hovering up here above that 15-minute opening range high. It hasn't pulled back at all. It made a new all-time high, and it's like, I like it up here. I think I'll stay. Oh, 5/8. My eyes got blurry. I thought it was 4/8. Making me feel like I need glasses. Moving up a little bit. All right, so I have that one limit order at, because there was this big rejection candle. Normally I don't get that scared on a 1-minute chart because I was just a 1-minute rejection. But the fact that we've been so choppy and I'm kind of getting the feeling that we might have a rangy day, I'm going to make sure to lock in the profits. And then I have 2 if we ever get to the range high. And then I'll leave a runner. The 2 VWAPs on the ES chart, I also have 2 VWAPs on the NQ chart. It's just harder to see them because I'm in this position right now. But the gray one is normally the weekly VWAP, so it's anchored at the Sunday night open. It's also serving as today's daily VWAP because the weekly VWAP is anchored at the same spot. So the daily VWAP is the previous 6 p.m. open, And then this lighter blue one is the New York anchored VWAP. So it's anchored at the 9:30 a.m. New York session open. So that's on both. And then when you come back tomorrow, the weekly VWAP and the daily VWAP will be different. So I'll actually have 3. The gray is the weekly VWAP, and then there's a darker blue, which will be daily. Hopefully that all made sense. It wasn't too confusing. It's a little bit different on a Monday. Like I said, the daily and the weekly VWAP are the same thing, since it's the first day of the week. On Edgeful, do I ever look at the gap fill and the inside days bar report? I don't look at the inside days. I do look at the gap fill. So let's say, like, I mean, it's already filled the gap today. But let's say I was in a position, like, maybe we had pulled back down here and I was, like, in a long. I would use the gap fill as maybe a possible target. Like, if I'm already in a position going towards the gap fill, I'll maybe scale out or take full profit at that gap fill. So I don't necessarily enter a trade just because of the gap fill, but I'll use it as a target. I also look at the true day open. Where is it? I have it on my, like, what's in play, so it just shows up on my dashboard. The ICT opening retracement. So that is the midnight open. It's very similar to a gap fill, but it's by the midnight open price. And a lot of times it'll retrace to that. But the strategy is the same. And you can actually put an indicator on your chart. So the ICT opening retracement, it puts a little blue line where that midnight open is. So this blue line right here, that's the midnight open. But yeah, play around with that one. You can trade it, like I said, the same way as the gap fill. Do not assume. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Just trying to be helpful. So, ES is just continuing to pump. I have 3 contracts left on this position, taking off 2 at the opening range high, and then I'll leave a runner. Because if NQ follows along with what ES is doing, it could keep going. Oh, you just subscribed on Friday. Awesome. Yeah, my advice with Edgeful is, it's, to be honest, a little bit overwhelming in the beginning because there's so many reports. So I would say pick a few things that you use. Like for me, I really dialed in on the initial balance, since that's a strategy that I really like. Maybe you trade the 15-minute opening range, so you can look at the orb opening range breakout stats. And you may or may not know this already, but you can change this to be like, this is 15-minute. You can change it to be 30-minute or 5-minute, whatever orb you trade. But my point is, find a couple of strategies that you already use. And then on each one, if you scroll all the way down, there's a video on each one. And then there's sub-reports. So like inside this 15-minute opening range, there's sub-reports. You can do it by rejection or by levels or by retracement. And there's a video for each one of those. Like they're very detailed with how to use this. And if you look at the sub-reports and like all of the reports plus the sub-reports, there's like 500 different things. I don't know, but there's a lot. So really focus on one or two and like watch every video and use them. Start watching it like on the charts live. That way you get used to a couple of them before trying to use all of them and getting overwhelmed. That would be my advice. Because there's nothing worse than like trying to be in the middle of a trade and trying to find that one report that you saw one time, and then you end up missing the trade or like confusing yourself. You like their IB retracement? Yeah, I like all of the IBs. So what I use mostly on Edgeful is after we've had a breakout, like let's say this is our initial balance high. It's not yet. We still have 8 minutes left. But let's say the initial balance has been set and it hits the top of the range, so we know that our breakout is to the upside. I'll look at the reports to see what the likelihood of retracement is. And then I'll take a long like continuation off of the retracement to the extensions. So I look at their levels, breakout by levels report. That's usually like my best setup right there. How do I draw a volume profile? So if you go to the fixed range volume profile tool, I have it on my favorites toolbar, but it's over on the left side under forecasting, fixed range volume profile. And then if you go from, for me on my chart, you'll see it right now, it says 8:30, but that's Central Time. So from the 9:30 candle over to the current price, that'll get the current session volume profile. Or if you go to the previous session, well, it'll be Fridays. So I'll just pull up the report. I'm not going to find it since you get the idea, but you click on that button, fixed range volume profile, and then you click on the chart at 9:30 Eastern, click once, and then you click again at the end of the session, so 3:59 Eastern. So click once at the beginning, click again at the end, and that'll pull up your fixed range volume profile. Hopefully that answered your question. For Edgeful, I don't have a code because they don't do like discounts, but I do have an affiliate link. So if you're wanting to check it out, I just put the link in the chat. It does give me credit if you use that. I appreciate it. But yeah, they don't do, like, if you use code Krista, you get 10% off or anything. They don't really have coupons. Well, that's kind of annoying that NQ is like super choppy, not going anywhere, and ES is just hovering at all-time highs. Weird day. So we have 4 minutes until our initial balance is set. So I'll go ahead and mark this as our IB high since it probably is going to be. Coming back down to VWAP. It'll be interesting to see if it holds here and bounces again. Looking at ES, the New York anchor VWAP is sitting right at that 15-minute opening range high. So that's interesting. Could be a good spot to watch for a bounce. Coming down. So back to our 15-minute opening range low, maybe. Or almost IB low at this point. Let's see what happens here at this 15-minute opening range low. If we get like a liquidity sweep bounce, maybe long, but right below it we have London low and Asia low. Dow Jones, VWAP to IB high. There you go. So ES is hovering at that VWAP 15-minute high level. NQ is right at this initial balance low. Interesting spot to be holding. There's London low and Asia low. This dotted line that I have down here, that is our low of the day. So if it doesn't hold here, could come down to that 221 level. I'm going to tick along here based on the fact that ES is bouncing at VWAP and there was that liquidity sweep. Let's see if it continues. So that recent volatility, Trump apparently said, "I'm considering renewing Project Freedom." Looks like that's what that was from. So, as far as targets, I don't know. This New York anchored VWAP. We also have our daily VWAP. Let's see how it reacts at 334. Since we did have a breakout of the initial balance, we can also look at our retracement. So 25% retracement of the initial balance is right here at 318. 50% retracement is at 358, which is also where the New York anchored VWAP is. So that's a decent level right there. It's hovering at that 25% retracement right now. Paint your face blue while yelling freedom. It's tough watching and not taking a trade. It's good exercise for your patience muscle. All right, I'm selling 2 at that 50% retracement and New York anchored VWAP. If I thought that we were going to be short, like if I was leaning towards shorts, I would take full profit there. I think it's ES that's getting me. Like ES is making all-time highs. That right there is a long setup. It broke out of the 15-minute opening range, came and retested VWAP, and now it's continuing and making new all-time highs. So that right there is what's making me want to hold on NQ. I don't know. I might be wrong. And now we have Trump with a microphone, so he could be messing this up. Coming up towards that anchored VWAP and 50% retracement level. This gray line right here that it's kind of hovering at right now, that's our daily VWAP. We're only on the 1 minute chart, so I can't confidently say it's breaking above it. But it's trying. All right, there's 2 of them. So now the way I'm going to manage the rest of this, you guys, you can see I have my other 2 limit orders back up at IB high. And then I'm just going to trail this stop loss. Whichever one hits first, I'll be happy with it because I've already locked in profits. I'm up. Between, I've had a couple of like green trailing stop losses hit. So I'm up like $650 on the day so far in each account. So even if it hits my trailing stop loss, I'm okay with that. We'll see which one goes first. I have my stop loss pretty tight, but still below VWAP. If it does end up holding this daily VWAP, that's at like 335. My stop loss is a little bit below that. $6.50 is a good day's wage. It is. Sure is. And really only with a couple hours of work. So it's breaking up above that 50% mark and the New York anchored VWAP. Let's see if it can get back up to the 15-minute opening range high. Like I said, if it's going to track with ES, it seems like it could. ES IB high is here. If ES makes it back to IB high, makes sense for NQ to do the same. I mean, I know they're not always exactly in line, but it helps a little bit with the bias. All right, I'm going to trail a little bit more. Did anyone else in the chat take along on that London low, Asia low liquidity sweep? Nice. We got a couple of people that did. It was a good trade. So I got in, honestly, a little bit later than I normally do on liquidity sweeps. I waited until this candle over here at 10:33. A lot of times I'll enter a little bit earlier, like even before this 1 minute candle closes, when you can just see the volume and the aggression off of that level. The reason I was a little bit nervous about it is because we still had this low of day down here from like the Asia pre-market, and I thought it could come a little bit lower, but the reason I ended up taking the trade was at that same time ES was bouncing off of VWAP pretty aggressively. So I like using the two for confluence. But yeah, it was a solid trade. Lots of reasons backing that one up. Now it's just a matter of how high it goes. Let's see if we get back up to this IB high. Am I trading orb? No, well, I mean, close. It was an initial balance trade. But initial balance is the same idea as orb. It's just 60 minutes instead of 15 or 30. But it came down to the initial balance low, but it swept this London low, Asia low liquidity, and then bounced while ES was bouncing at VWAP. So that was the reasoning for the trade. Gonna trail a little bit more. Since it's kind of fighting with this New York anchored VWAP, I'm gonna give it a little bit of room below there. But wanting to see it continue up. ES is making its way back up to IB high too. Come on. It always makes me nervous when it starts being slow like this. And there's stuff going on with, you know, the war and Trump and all that. Because at any point, some headline could come out and it just like stops me out. If you guys are just joining in, if you haven't already, hit that like button. And subscribe too if you haven't already. Also, if you're trying to join the Discord and it's not working, let me know. I can give you the accurate link. I did some things to update my Discord over the weekend. And it changed my invite link. So now every single video I need to go back and change my Discord link. Oops. I noticed that not a single person joined the Discord over the weekend. I was like, what did I do? I figured out why. Because the link doesn't work. Oh no? Yeah, tell me about it. I put it in the description of every single video, and I have a lot of videos, so I got some work cut out for me. Yeah, Leon, it was a pretty good trade. So I made a good amount on a gold trade earlier this morning, and then the NQ trades that you saw this morning. I find my support and resistance levels with volume profile. And then like during the sessions, what I'm actually looking for is liquidity sweep setups and then 15-minute opening range and initial balance. So kind of combining all of them. Like initial balance, for example, if there's a liquidity sweep plus a failed auction on the initial balance, that is a setup that I take. So if any of those strategies are something that you currently trade or you want to learn more about, I do have quite a few videos kind of explaining my strategy. I'm going to trail it a little bit more. It's kind of looking like it's losing steam here. ES is up at its initial balance high, though. So kind of one thing I'm watching for is if ES starts to reject this pretty strong, I'll probably close out my NQ trade. If ES looks like it's going to break out and continue and make another new all-time high, then there could be a good sign that NQ will reach its IB high. So, again, watching for ES. I like putting them side by side to see what they do. Well, Leon, I'm glad that you find it helpful. $700 trade, let's go. No, I didn't take any courses, just learned through lots and lots of YouTube videos. There's ES at IB high. What we're gonna do here? Keep going, keep going. I don't know, maybe I'm a quick learner. I also put a lot of time into it. I'm the kind of person that when I set my mind on something, I get obsessed about it. Like, I watched YouTube videos all the time. I never watched TV. So, like, all of my free time was spent watching YouTube videos. Like, every time I went on a walk or driving in the car, like, my kids got annoyed. They were always like, Mom, turn on music, because I was always listening to trading videos. Even now, I listen to a lot of trading videos, but they're more on, like, psychology and stuff. But when I was first learning trading, that's all I did. I walked around with earbuds in, listening to trading videos. So maybe I'm a fast learner, or maybe I'm just obsessed. I don't know. I started trading in September of 2024. So about a year and a half. Name of the indicator, please. Which one? I have, I can actually take the initial balance breakout one off. But I was using the initial balance breakout, and then VWAP and volume are the only ones that I have turned on right now. Anna, it's hard to say without, like, watching your executions. Because if you enter the same trade that I did, then it was just a difference in how you managed your stop loss. So, more patience with letting it play out. But it's hard to give you, like, specific, actionable advice without seeing how you took the trade. Teen days, going out on a date. I'm not that bad. I do have some fun in my life. But thankfully, my husband has the same hobbies that I do. Because, yeah, like, I like to work out. So a lot of times our, like, dates Like when we have time together without the kids, we're like, hey, you want to go work out together? How much I lost on the previous trades? No, this first one was a loss. This one, it hit my trailing stop loss. So no, and this one I actually had moved my stop loss up. So I only lost like $15 on the first one, and this one was actually positive because my stop loss was in profit. There was one other one where I tried to take a bounce at VWAP, but I had sized down and I lost about $100 on that one. So I was down total about $100. This is more fun than Netflix. I don't enjoy watching TV. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I do sit and watch TV because my family enjoys it. And I know it's important to like do what other people like to do too. Like my kids love having movie nights where all of us sit on the couch and cuddle with popcorn and blankets and stuffed animals and stuff. And then my husband does enjoy like sitting on the couch and watching TV. But it's like once every 2 weeks we'll watch a 45-minute show. It takes us 2 years to get through a TV series because we don't really watch TV that much. I also really like sleep. So by the time we're like done with everything, getting the kids to bed and, you know, washing the dishes and all that stuff, most of the time I'm like, I'm ready for bed. So there's no time for TV. Gary, yes, I typically mark it in and then add my stop loss and take profit after I'm in the trade very quickly. Every once in a while I'll do limit orders, but a lot of times I end up getting burned on those. Because like a liquidity sweep, for example, if you put the limit order right at the level, I mean, NQ could drop 30 points before it bounces. This one was super clean at Asia low and London low, but it doesn't always work that way. So I personally market order in after I've seen the confirmation or the reaction that I want to see. The reason I'm kind of letting this play out is ES is not looking like it's rejecting that initial balance high, at least yet. I'm trailing closer. Looks like it's starting to come down a little bit. Can I talk about Edgeful? Yeah, I love it. they have, I'll pull it up right now. They have a bunch of different reports. So if you trade the initial balance, that's how I use it. I highly recommend it. They also have the ORB if you trade that. I mean, there's tons of stuff. They have CPI, FOMC reports. They do have like some ICT stuff, average true range. So I haven't gotten into a lot of these. Like I was talking about a couple minutes ago, it can be overwhelming with all the reports that they have, but I specifically use the initial balance on NQ because that's what I trade. So it tells you, like it tells you the likelihood of a single break or a double break. It gives you breakout levels. So like on the initial balance, if you have a breakout or a breakdown day. So today's a little bit different because it did break down and now it's going back up. But like, let's say you wanted to take a trade off of the breakdown, it'll tell you the likelihood of the extensions that it'll go to. So there's an 80% chance that it'll hit the 0.1 and the 0.2 extension if it breaks down. So that's how I use it. Like if I'm taking a breakout trade, or if I take an initial balance failed auction, meaning it rejects the outside of the range and I'm taking a trade back to the inside of the range, you can go to the initial balance by levels, by retracement, over here, by initial balance by retracement. So it'll tell you like the 25% retracement, there's a 42% chance that it'll hit that one. Or on a breakdown day, which is what it was today, 76% chance it'll hit the 25% retracement and a 46% chance it'll hit the 50%. So it's hard. I wouldn't say I can tell you if it's accurate because it's just data. It'll just tell you the likelihood based on the last 6 months or based on the last year, however you filter the data, the likelihood that this is going to happen. And I like it because it helps me trade with percentages and not with emotions. Also, it gives extra confluence. So let's say, I mean, this is a bad example because we're at an all-time high day. But let's say I was trading an initial balance breakout and we have a level up here that's like Asia high or something. And I want to take a trade up to that level. Let's say that also lines up with like the 0.3 extension. And Edgeful says that there's a 70% chance that it'll hit that. So now I have double confluence because Edgeful says it'll likely hit and we have an overnight level. So it's just nice when all that stuff kind of lines up. Hopefully that gives you a little insight on how I use Edgeful. But yeah, I like it a lot. I use it pretty much every day. You're confused between Edgeful, Herman, and NQ stats. I don't know much about the other two. So honestly, I can't help you there. Big Frank, good. Glad you're finding it helpful. Will I give one more trade? What do you mean? Like, am I going to take another trade? I probably won't. That was a nice trade on ES. A bounce off of that VWAP right there, but you had to be fast. That happened pretty quick. ES has been super bullish today. Just kind of hovering up there. Flying high. Person one, awesome. Have a good night. Is this funded? Yeah. I have my Tradeify and Lucid funded accounts that I'm copying on these trades. Gonna trail a little bit tighter. $400 away from passing your Lucid Flex. Let's go. Yeah, don't rush it. If you're anything like me, that's the part where I start to almost trade nervous. Especially if I'm like $400 away from a payout. I start to get a little bit trigger shy, and maybe I'll enter the trade too late, and then I'm chasing it, and then, yeah, I trade stupid when I get really close. So I almost have to like reset my brain and like forget about it, and like meditate or clear my head or pray about it or like whatever works for you, but just kind of reset and remind myself not to trade stupid. What prop firm would I recommend for beginners? I definitely recommend Tradeify and Lucid. Both of them. Either one, really. They're both similar. Tradeify right now has a 40% off sale, and Lucid does too, so their pricing is going to be about the same. But the reason I recommend them is they don't have a monthly subscription. So like the eval, most firms, if you don't pass the evaluation phase within 30 days, they charge you again every month. But Lucid and Tradeify, they don't. So you can take as long as you want to pass that eval. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, 30 days is plenty of time. Yeah, it is. I agree. But when you're brand new and maybe you've been trading on that account for like 2 weeks and you haven't passed it yet, then that voice in your head starts to be like, oh crap, I only have 2 weeks left. I need to like rush this so I can pass it. And then you start to trade stupid. So if you can just totally take that pressure off and not have a timeline and take as long as you want, it helps mentally a lot. So Tradeify and Lucid for sure. I like the Lucid Flex account. The Lucid Pro account is great too. But if you're a little bit more of a newbie trader, I like the Flex account. And then with Tradeify, I actually like the Select accounts. And then once you pass the eval, you can choose the Flex or the daily route, depending on how you want to get paid. The Select Flex account allows you to have a higher payout possibility. The Select Daily account allows you to get paid daily once you've passed the buffer. So they both have their benefits. But yeah, I would go with either Lucid Flex or Tradeify Select. Use code Krista, by the way. Do you have to take a prop firm eval monthly? No. Once you pass the eval and you get to the funded stage, you can stay there as long as you keep that account. If you fail the account, like if you hit your drawdown limit, then you have to go back to the eval phase and pass the eval again. Nope, there's no time limits on how quick you need to pass. You just have to pay again on most prop firms. That's why I like Tradeify and Lucid if you're a newbie. Oh, Leon, I just saw your question. Yes, so I have a Tradeivate account with my prop firms, and you can connect Tradeivate to TradingView. And then I'm copy trading them with TradeSyncer. So TradingView doesn't allow you to copy trade, but I have my lead account on TradingView. I'm placing the trades on Tradeivate. You guys can just see them on TradingView. What do I use to copy across multiple accounts? I use TradeSyncer. TradeSyncer has a 7-day free trial. If you want to try them out, you can use code Krista for that. All right, guys. I'm going to call it there. I did take off 2 of my contracts on that trade right around 340-ish. And then it hit my trailing stop loss on the rest. So pretty decent profits on that trade. Finishing the day green. All right, gang. I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully you guys join in. If you haven't already, hit that like button. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.